Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed are people who trust God and obey God's word. We want to ask you a question today. Were Adam and Eve the very first people on the planet Earth? If you read in Genesis chapter 1, you're going to see a different version. You're going to see distinct differences in Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. They're two different creation stories. You read in Genesis chapter 1, you see that plants and animals were created before Adam and Eve, before the man and the woman. You read in Genesis chapter 2, you read where Adam was created before the animals and the plants, and there was no woman there. Genesis chapter 1, the male and female were created at the same time. Genesis chapter 2, there's a time lapse between when the female was created coming out of the side of Adam. We read in Genesis chapter 1 that every herb and every tree was good for food. We read in Genesis chapter 2 that there was a restriction. There was a restriction that you can't eat of everything. There is the tree of knowledge of good and evil that you cannot eat from. We read many different changes and differences between Genesis chapter 1 and verse 2. Also, if you read Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, you see where God created, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God created the heavens and the earth. Then in verse 2, you read, the earth is void, without form, and the Spirit of God is moving upon the face of the waters. What's going on? I thought the earth was created. I thought everything was created. Then you read in verse 2 where it was not. If you read in the Hebrew, that means, that word was, means it became that way. That means that there was a gap of time between Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, and Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. And what you're reading in Genesis chapter 1 later is a recreation or a reforming, a remodeling of the earth that was already there after it had been destroyed. You read where, again, the animals were created and plants were created before Adam and Eve in chapter 1. And like I said, in Genesis chapter 2, you read where Adam was created first before the plants and the animals. There's different things going on. You read about a garden that Adam was placed in. You don't read about the garden that Adam or the man and the woman were placed in Genesis chapter 1. You don't read about the restrictions in Genesis chapter 1 that are in Genesis chapter 2. There are differences. If you read this in chronological order, you see that there were people on the earth created by God before Adam was created. If you read this in chronological order, you see Adam was not the first human on this earth. God bless you till next time.